This was an important moment for Syria. Until now, diplomatic efforts to end the war have been led by Russia and the US. But after the attack on a convoy carrying UN aid, which the US believes was the result of Russian airstrikes, all the trust has gone.
He said that it could have been a rocket or artillery shelling. That's what the initial reports were. And then helicopters or warplanes were mentioned. I think we need to refrain from emotional reactions and making public comments immediately.
I listened to my colleague from Russia, and I sort of felt a little bit like we're sort of in a parallel universe here.
During 5.5 years of war, the Security Council has remained deadlocked. A group of regional and international countries, known as the International Syria Support Group, has also struggled to come up with a solution to the war. So it's been left to the two co-chairs of that group, Secretary Kerry and Foreign Minister Lavrov, to negotiate. At the beginning of the year, the two united in support of talks in Geneva between the Syrian government and opposition, but Russia was then involved in bombing some of the same groups involved in the negotiations. Their latest deal, 10 days ago, involving a new ceasefire, collapsed after it took a week for the Syrian government to give permission for aid deliveries, and when two convoys did get in, one of them was bombed. It's clear US patience is now over. Secretary Kerry and the US Ambassador Samantha Power were working on the tough language in his speech right up to the point when it was delivered.
We just can't do business as usual. We can't walk out of this room and say, okay, we're going to try to continue, or we'll have a ceasefire that everybody knows can't work. The facts require countries to restore credibility to this process.
Mr. Lavrov was shaking his head as Secretary Kerry made a point of highlighting the statements from Moscow about the attack on the convoy.
Then a Russian ambassador said that Russia and Syrian forces were not bombing the area, but they were targeting Khan Tuman. Then we heard a completely different story. The Defense Ministry said that the aid convoy had been accompanied by militants in a pickup truck with a mortar. We've seen no evidence of that. And it denied Russia's involvement. It said, according to spokesman Igor Konashenkov, I quote, "Neither Russian nor Syria conducted airstrikes on the UN humanitarian convoy in the southwestern outskirts of Aleppo." That's a quote. Then Konashenkov went further, and he said the damage to the convoy was the direct result of the cargo catching fire. The trucks and the food and the medicine just spontaneously combusted. Anybody here believe that?
Secretary Kerry also called for all aircraft in parts of Syria to be grounded. It's not at all clear whether Russia will agree to that. In the coming days, there's bound to be intense diplomacy. Most of the key players are in New York for the rest of the week. The UN Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura said we have 2 days to find out whether the ceasefire can be put back in place. James Bays, Al Jazeera at the United Nations.